I'm trying to find the center line of the foot, and I'm trying to find the high instep. And then we're going to draw a line down the center of the foot from the high instep pretty much down to where the big toe starts its first knuckle. And you can use that triangle Tamas just handed out. Let's see if I can find one for me, something similar. It's going to be weird because this is a lumpity bumpity. So I'm basically just going to sort of let it inform me. It's not going to really make a super straight line. It's going to help. Yeah. But that's kind of middle-ish, right? And we're talking mass, because there's obviously more inches over here. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So we've split the mass of the foot down the middle. So now I've got this mark at my high instep, and for me, I have an inch function. You guys may have centimeters. It doesn't really matter, but what I'm looking at is 3 and an 1/8. So I'm going to take this 3 and an 1/8 mark, and it doesn't matter that right here I've got an extra 1/4 of an inch, because that's what I'm flat on my surface. So I've got a 3 and an 1/8 mark here, and I'm going to transfer that to the back of my shoe, and I'm going to take that 3 and an 1/8 to the back of my shoe. Okay? So that height in the back is the same as this mark in my front. Okay? And if you don't trust yourself, you can make a similar mark on the side and a similar mark on the side. Because basically we're marking the top of the shoe. I want y'all to be comfortable with the idea of using your eyeballs and your sense of correctness to get this right. Because once we start punching holes, that's pretty much all you get. Okay? You're gonna have to be able, huh?
Eyeballs and a sense of correctness.
Yep, that's what you get.
Armed with eyeballs and a sense of correctness, off she went into the world.
A good rule of finger is there's gonna be about your finger width above that tab. Okay? And that's where I am with Tam. I've got about a finger width above that piece of cardboard. Yep. So the next step is to draw this line to connect all my marks around the top. And it's going to be iffy. It's not perfect. It's not rocket science. So now I have a mark around the ankle, and I have a line down the front, this little spot right here, and come to the back where we have our heel counter, the piece of chipboard in there. At the corner, in the middle, I'm going to put an X. I'm going to put the pad of my middle finger on that X. And I'm going to put my thumb on this little guy right here. This finger, instead of staying on this little X in the back, is going to move up to the center at the back of the shoe. And the thumb is going to stay where it is. Don't move. Okay? But I'm going to make a mark here on this line on the outside of my thumb. Okay, I'm going to check, make sure I didn't move nothing. Yep, I'm still the same, and my hand is cramping. That's kind of how it should be. Okay? So, finger here, thumb here. Finger moves to here, from here. Thumb moves to here, from here to wherever that is. And then you don't try to get your thumb pad back onto it. It just stays where it is and rotates there. And then you draw the thumb on the outside of it. We're trying to get enough clearance for this whole mass to get inside the shoe. So we've got that much more now. We're gonna add a finger width to it, okay? So we're gonna add, we're just gonna take our finger and we're gonna add another mark, right down that center line. And then watch how clever we are so that we never get confused. We're gonna cover the first mark. Whoop. It went away. We'll never have to worry about that one again. We're gonna darken the second mark that's a finger width down. We're gonna come back in. And any other marks that you don't like the look of, that you think you might cut later, like anything that goes from this mark down to the toe, pardon me, cover that as well. Because we don't want to put a pair of scissors to any of that, okay? So, basically, the only important marks that we have so far are the marks that go from there, that's the finger width mark, up to the high instep and the ankle mark around, right? Those are all cut marks. Those are marks that we need so we can hack this puppy apart correctly. What we're doing, unbuttoned to the table, is we're figuring out where this goes and we're laying out this part. Okay, so from the bottom corner on the outside of the upper, find your corner here, 1 inch away from the cardboard. Measure, if you will. I'm going to use my eyeballs and my sense of correctness in the world. I'm going to mark a couple of holes, just the 2 little ones at the back, but I'm also going to trace this horseshoe crab shape. Okay. And you don't need the whole horseshoe crab. You need the 2 little holes because we're going to punch those later. And you need the horseshoe crab so we can finish tracing our pattern. All right, so next is the tricky bit, because none of this has been tricky at all. Between the top of the line on your shoe where your ankle is, and where you put your finger mark, find center. Okay, doesn't have to be exact. Intuitive center is good enough. Okay. Now, the corner of your shoe, I really want this to be here, not there. From your intuitive center mark, okay, to the corner of your shoe, we're going to use a tape measure because it wraps nicely. It's a 3-dimensional line for us. And we are going to leave a 1/4 inch between the tab we just drew and this line that we're drawing. Okay? It doesn't have to cross into what we just drew. It just has to draw from the center mark to a 1/4 inch outside of that.
Okay.
We're going to draw a line from there to there. So that's the first mark I made. Okay, use your fine point Sharpie.
Okay, so the 1/4 inch is from right here.
Okay. Yes? If you use this line and your square, that'll give you square. And then you can use your marks to measure to 3/8 inch. This is what we're making. So, right now, we're gonna take this junction, this corner thing, and it's gonna connect to the outside here, and then this closer to the toe mark is gonna connect here. okay?
Okay.
So if you want, you can use your tape measure, because that really does give us a nice three-dimensional line, and you don't have to worry about wrapping your straight thing, and it can pretty much guide you, unless you're dumb like I am, and then you just don't use it. So that's how that goes, see? So you're going to have 3 different lines here, and then the one from the ankle is going to go like that, and it's going to draw all the way to there. And then I'm going to go back in and fill that in with a dark Sharpie, and these are going to round out. Just going to take the corners off, okay? Five-eighths of an inch, 3 times. Now, first thing we do is we cut off the shoe at the ankle. So, I'm going to come at it. I'm right-handed, so I like moving towards the left. It's just how things work well for me. But I'm going to take off the mark. I don't like looking at it. It's ugly. I just didn't do a great job of it. But seriously, folks, I'm going to try to get it nice and straight. Scissors are nice and straight, so that helps, right? Remember that we're working at taking things off at right angles. So we want all of our edges to be nice and right angly. Practice that here. Let your scissors help you keep things straight. And if you have to dip down or wobble the scissors to get to your mark, let that go, because your scissors want to be straight. Let it help you keep things straight, right? And then put it down. I have a really obvious high spot. So I'm going to take that off. And then this is going to be really awkward for me because I only have one working knee right now. But I'm going to get down where I can actually eyeball this from an angle. Definitely have to take this down. Got a high spot here. Got another high spot here. So I want this all to be about the same height. And one thing I can do to make sure of it is I can use my little tool to get a good sense of it. And look at this high spot. I can't even see my tool on the edge of this right here. And it's coming up at 3 inches all the way around elsewhere. So I'm gonna trim my shoe down a little bit. You don't have to, but it makes a lot of sense when you see what we're doing next.
So, a centimeter apart is what I heard. Are you doing?
I am. A centimeter apart and a centimeter long. And because we're about to mark up our shoes, we're going to be making stitch marks. And they have to be a centimeter long and a centimeter apart. What we really want them to be is easy to mark on a three-dimensional surface. It's not flat, not convenient. It's not easy to hold a tape measure up against something that's wrapped around. So, I mean, you can see how hard this is for me to hold here. I don't know, do you want to come hold this for me? Watch this. Sisters come in handy. No pun intended. Pun intended. Shut up.
Pun intended.
Okay, so if you just hold it anywhere, it doesn't matter as long as one line is matched up with another.
We're sliding.
Anyway, we're going to have a couple extra marks. Thanks. Pardon?
Do we wrap around our thumb also?
It depends. If you, for me, I can control how stretched out the webbing is between my thumb and my fingers, but only up to a point. So I'm gonna, where I know I can control it up to that point, I'm about there. So, and then when I put my hand here, those marks are gonna be real easy. I don't have to fight with a measuring tape or a straight ruler. All I gotta do is transfer the marks. Boom, boom, boom. And then I can move my hand. And I can move my hand. Yeah. Look at that. And I am not taking credit for this. I'm gonna give credit to Jason Hovater, who is the guy whose videotape I purchased and learned from him. He is an expert. And thank you, Jason. We're gonna take the top of the heel counter, right in the middle, and 1 centimeter down from the top. Do you trust your centimeter sense?
Say, how much is a centimeter, do you ask?
It's about that long. So, we all just finished drawing centimeters, right? Boom, right there. So from here to here.
The top of the chipboard down.
The top of the chipboard down. So, from there to there, and then about 1 centimeter over in each direction, so that it's a pretty V pattern. Those are our first 3 stitches. Okay? And all from the same point and over. This one's too far. Okay. So the first 3 stitches all emanate from the same point, and they go 1, 2, 3. Okay? And they're 1 centimeter long, and they're 1 centimeter apart.
So then that's back to the chipboard, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's from the top of the chipboard 1 centimeter down, and then 1 centimeter over, and so it's all from that point all the way around the shoe, all the way around the chipboard specifically, so that it looks like this. 1 centimeter apart, centimeter long. And that's why we just did the thing every teacher and every mother told you not to do. And you want to have them perpendicular to the edge. Okay? So that means that some of them might be pointing at one another, if that makes sense. Wherever you turn a corner, they might be pointing different directions. That's okay. Okay, Rachel's making us all look bad.
All right.
No, don't be sorry.
Not sorry.
Perfect. All right, you guys. Next thing is, pick a color. Okay. You don't like turquoise, do you? I can't tell by looking at you.
Nah.
All right. Next thing we're gonna do, people, is we have to lay out our butt seam. And it's called a butt seam, not because that's where we sit, but that's because it's a seam. It's this seam on the shoe. It butts up against itself, right? This is the butt seam. Almost invisible, right?
Where's the, show 'em on the unfinished shoe. It's easier to see what's going on.
That's the butt seam,
Okay.
right there.
The 2 pieces of leather just, yeah.
Okay, so this happens on the opposite side of all the clasp work, right? So it starts here at the same place where we have our, where this ends, right? So where we've got this little corner, we're gonna take our big Sharpie and
Our black one or?
The big black one. Okay, so we're gonna head towards the arch of the foot, not super sharp angle. Let me show this to you before you start drawing. And probably this is one you're gonna wanna gather because I'm gonna do this for the camera more than you. I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna do a really graduated S curve. Now this is too much of an S curve. It was hard to make it line up. I really want it to be a little bit straighter than this. And you see this is a really minor S curve. I want it to be a little straighter than that. So I'm gonna come off of this and I'm gonna end perpendicular to the sole. I don't want it coming in at an angle. Perpendicular, yes? And I'm gonna end in between 2 stitches. So those are the criteria I'm working with. I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna come towards this part of this shoe because this is where the foot isn't gonna feel any of it, right? Because this is gonna be a bulkier part of the shoe, right? Because that's a seam. So there's a little bit of bumping going on in there and we don't want our toes dealing with that. We don't want where we actually have a lot of pressure on the ground dealing with this. So I'm coming back from here, where it's lumpy. I think I'm gonna aim for here. So I'm gonna curve it a little bit. We're gonna come back here. And then, because I don't want it, it needs to be perpendicular, right? I'm avoiding her big knobby, big toe, and it needs to be perpendicular to the ground. So that is my butt seam. And it's kind of it's almost straight, but it curves a little bit, right? Okay. All right. That's what I'm looking at. Everybody have a colored pen? Everybody has color that will show up on silver, like clearly, and stay there?
I think so.
Okay. In that case, now we play. All right, so with our colored marker, we're gonna pick a stitch somewhere close to the toes, not necessarily the big toe, but maybe the second toe. And we're gonna turn one of these big stitches that we have here. We're just gonna turn it red. Okay? And when we do that, we're gonna move on to the upper, and we're gonna give ourselves a mark there too. Okay? And then coming down to the heel, I've got these 2 marks that just really turned out perfectly for me. Right here, right before the corner turns. I don't know how it is. Tamas's feet are perfect for this. It's just because she's always been like risen to the challenge of perfection. Pretty sure that's what it is. So I've got north and south.
It's 2 marks on the heel.
Yeah, 2 marks on the heel, 1 on either side. And then I'm going to come somewhere right around the middle. So we've got north and south, right? Let's go east and west. Ish. Folks, this is not rocket science. Ish is adequate. Ish. Middle-ish. And make sure that these all transfer to the upper as well. Okay? Very important. Registration mark should not be close to the butt seam.
Like close.
Like, for example, here's my registration mark. Here's my butt seam. This is not where it should be.
Okay. Is this enough of a gap?
Yes, perfect. Okay. And then, for the sake of our sanity, we're going to try for a couple more registration marks in between each of these. so that we have no more than 5 to 7 stitches in between each registration mark.
Smile and nod. Right.
And okay, make sure they all get transferred to the upper. Make certain of it, because this is how we're gonna get these things to line up again once we hack them apart. Okay, now listen carefully. Right angles. We've been practicing this all day. This is a place where it's important. We want to cut these apart at right angles.